Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to September Southern Tier Regional EMS Council meeting. We'll start out with roll call attendance.
Frank Brzezowski,
Here.
Brian Chapman,
Here.
Matt Chapman,
See a couple.
Present.
well, they are in Kansas.
Matt Chapman present.
There's Matt. Okay, Mark Sikora,
Here.
Jessica Conklin,
Here.
Here, a little quiet.
yeah, Steve
I think we're missing
Costello,
seven. Right there. 3. Oh, yeah. No, there's 4.
Oh, you need yourself.
Again, past 7 o'clock.
Tommy Duvall,
Here.
Brian Gardner, Mel Horton,
Here.
Pauline Holbert, Alan Ingalls, Dr. Kellogg,
Here.
Henry Jerzak,
Here.
Bill Kennedy, Rick Kimball,
Here.
Jim Kins,
Here.
Tim Marshall, Devin McGinnis, Dan Miller, Kelly Miller, Jim Page,
Here.
Dave Rupture,
Here.
Jeff Sweet,
Here.
Terry Simons,
Here.
Mike Von Beveren.
Here.
Roll call's complete. We've got 16 that are here. 28.
Nikki, did you get Diana?
Here for.
Oh, okay. I'll add Diana. No, we did not, Ryan.
Hello from the Great White North.
Okay, thank you.
Still makes us quorum.
Yep.
Okay. Minutes for this meeting. Should have gone out to everyone. There is one addition to the March minutes. Colleen Hulbert was in attendance at the March meeting. She was somehow left off the attendance roster. So we'll add Colleen to those minutes. Any other corrections or additions? If not, I'll take a motion to approve. Motion by Henry, seconded by Paisley. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. On to correspondence. Mr. Kinson's favorite part of the meeting. These are violations and sanctions from the Department of Health. First one is Kevin Cornell for the Afghan, New York, voluntarily surrendered for violations of Part 816A5. Long Beach Fire Department, City of, so this is an agency sanction for violation of Part 80.136. Those familiar know that Part 80 is the section on narcotics enforcement, and Part 800.23F. They were set a civil penalty of $2,000. Salvatore Viola, Whitestone, New York, suspended for 1 year, effective May 16th, 22, suspension stayed, placed on probation for 3 years. effective May 16th, 22, and a civil penalty of $2,500 for violations of Part 800.3 AL, 800.3 AM, 800.15 A1, 800.15 A2, 800.15 B1, 800.16 A1, 800.16 A2, and 816. William Gaylor from Hoosick Falls, New York, was issued a formal reprimand, placed on probation March 17th until his current certification expires, and assessed a civil penalty of $500 for violations of Part 800.3 AM. Andrew Weiss of Patterson, New York, summarily suspended effective 4/5/22 until a final order is issued for violations of 800.16B. Navarro Crossman of the Bronx, suspended for 1 year effective April 27th, suspension stayed. Probation for 3 years effective 4/27/22, and a civil penalty of $500 for violations of Part 800.3 AM and 800.16 A2, 9, and 11. Excuse me. Harris Crone from Lake Grove, New York, suspended 1 year effective 5/24. The suspension has stayed pending no further violations for 3 years, and assessed a civil penalty of $2,000. Half is suspended pending no further violations for 3 years for violations of Part 800.3 AM. Mark Blackburn from Jerry, New York, surrendered effective May 17th of 22 for violations of Part 800.15 A2, 800.15 B1, 800.16 A1, and 800.16 A2. Christopher Kitchens, revoked effective July 13th of 22. Mr. Kitchens is from Eden, New York, for violations of 800.15A and 800.16 A1, 2, and 13. Matthew Miller of Lancaster, New York, surrendered effective July 28th of 22 for violations of Part 800.16 A10. And Joshua Feldman from Staten Island, suspended 1 year effective 8/9/22, suspension stayed. Probation for 3 years effective 8/9/22, and a civil penalty of $500 for violations of 800.15A, 800.3 AP1, and 800.16 A2. And that concludes the correspondence from the Department of Health. Other correspondence, as many of you are probably aware, the executive order that allowed for meetings to be conducted either by Zoom or in a hybrid format with Zoom is expiring. It'll be expired actually before by the 12th of this month. Therefore, after 3.5 years, this will be our last hybrid council meeting. After some discussion yesterday, we may allow for visitors to participate by Zoom, but as far as voting, and as far as conducting council business, by November, we'll all be meeting in person again. A couple announcements. You may or may not be aware that September 20th will be The New York State EMS Memorial dedication for this year. That is a Tuesday. It's coming up here in the next 2 weeks. And I'd like to point out, since Mr. Mary had to step out, that Gerald Tomes has been selected to be honored on the EMS Memorial this year. You know that Daryl passed away last year due to complications of COVID. And he will rightfully be taking his place on the EMS Memorial. If anybody is able to attend, September 20th, it's the day before the STREMS Council meeting. I think that it would be a great honor for not only Daryl, but for AMR and all of Daryl's colleagues and members. Along with that, I'd like to mention, I found out yesterday during the STREMS meeting that Dr. Barry's mother passed away. He was unable to attend the STREMS meeting yesterday. And on behalf of the council, express my condolences to Dr. Barry and his family on the passing of his mother. I also like, yes.
We also sent flowers on behalf of council, MSTAR, and stream.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to note that a couple people have entered the meeting since roll call. I'll ask Nikki to go back and note their attendance. I think Colleen Halbert, can you acknowledge? Can you hear me, Colleen? And Kelly Miller.
Hi there.
Oh,
Okay. So Kelly and Colleen have entered the meeting.
I am
Oh, there you go.
sorry, I was having problems with the new phone.
Oh, internet slow in our court today. Further announcements, obviously, New York State EMS conference is coming up. The announcements in the emails are ramping up from the state regarding the conference. This year to be held on October 27, 28, 29. So information registration is open, reservations, hotel accommodations are open. Encourage people to attend if they so desire. Anything else? Anyone? Yes.
Under events, this Sunday is the Tri-County First Responders Park Memorial honoring. And they're adding this year, the Agency of the Year was awarded to Irway Ambulance. And the Provider of the Year went to Bruce Irway. It's 11 a.m. on Sunday, First Responders Park, Game Mills.
This Sunday one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They always do it on September, or they try to do it on September 11th.
Right. Yep, and I apologize for leaving that off the list. Congratulations both to Bruce and congratulations to Irway Ambulance. If anybody is able to attend, please do so. Anything else? Okay, we already got approval of the previous minutes. And we had a bylaws change that was left upon the table from March. Would Nick like to read that?
We voted on it. Yeah, I thought we voted on it as well.
Yeah.
Oops,
Yeah, we voted on it.
well, we're on my agenda.
Yeah.
Sorry. It was on the agenda.
Yeah, it was.
So we'll move into committee reports. Systems.
The Police Committee has a few things to bring forward. First thing is we have two notices of intent to provide public access to fibrillation. The first is for the town of Cohocton. They have two AEDs and Dr. Bramer is their medical provider. Everything was found to be complete at Systems Committee and comes forward as a seconded motion. And then the second is Parish of the Most Holy Name of Jesus, which is 1010 Davis Street in the city of Elmira. They have 7 AEDs and 20 providers. Dr. Hennigan is their emergency healthcare provider, and that was also found to be complete. And we brought both of those forward as a seconded motion.
Motion to, I'm sorry, any discussion? Where was it, Rockland located?
The town of Cohocton is going to be located at town of Cohocton, Angel in the district. So, well, no, that's their provider. So, or that's their Angel provider. Let's see, 19 Main Street in Atlanta, New York. And it's going to be the town hall, looks like.
Any other discussion? Then we'll take a vote to move those forward to the department as complete. Council lacks the ability or the responsibility to approve or deny these applications. We merely forward them to the state. That's complete. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Abstention. What was that? Was there,
I think.
all right. All right.
All right, the next one is we have 3 applications for EMS agency to use EPCR. First one is Pine City Volunteer Fire Department. And they are going to be using the state's image trend for BLS first response. That was found to be complete. And again, this is just we're just making sure they're complete and forwarding them on. The next is Montour Falls Fire Department. They're also going to be using the New York State Image Trend BLS first response form that was found to be complete. And the third one is for the Perkinsville Fire Department. And they are also using the New York State Image Trend BLS first response. And that was found to be complete. And these are just there was a seconded motion saying that they were complete.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of moving these forward?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and the next one is the Hammondsport Fire District is requesting a BLS FR application for agency code. That was reviewed. We found a few issues with it. The first issue is some of the dates date back to July of 2021. I do not believe that it's an absolute bar, but what is an absolute bar is their collaborative agreement between the PAD provider and the emergency healthcare provider is not signed.
Is that Brian?
Yes, it's right. So we did not bring it forward as a motion, but I'm going to bring a motion that we send it back to them for them to be corrected. And when they're corrected, that we forward it off to the state. What we're required to do, according to the state, is all BLS FR agency ID applicants must obtain a letter of endorsement and support
from the Regional Emergency Services Council, identifying the applicant's integration of BLS first response within the local EMS system. The letter must specifically state that the REMSCO has reviewed the applicant's application and recommends issuance of an EMS agency ID. So, everything else is complete. They actually state in their policy that they're going to be dispatched to, when we find it there. They're going to be dispatched to, I believe it was Charlie Delta and Echo Call. So, yes, Charlie Delta and Echo Calls. Says all EMS calls are dispatched by the 911 center to the appropriate fire departments and ambulance agencies or EMS providers. Hammondsport Fire Department EMTs will be dispatched by Steuben County 911 to EMS calls that require an automatic Charlie Delta and Echo response for 911 calls. So I make a motion that we accept it, that we send it back to them for them to correct those two errors. And once it's received back, it's completely forwarded off to the state with a recommendation that they be issued in their state BLS first response ID number. I say.
Discussion?
Should we give them a length of time for the dates? There's some of those that we said are 15 months ago. Well, I have dates from April of this year, and then there's dates from July of next year. So last year, excuse me, is that the assumption is that they'll just correct that one form as the dates from July of last year, and then they'll give their emergency provider agreement signed for the PAD, and then I'll meet the requirements. But that should be specified to make it easier on exactly what it's done.
Traditionally, the state has balked at signatures that are more than 6 months old.
So
I would be hard pressed to find that in a regulation somewhere. But I know from previous documents and previous actions we've done here, when signatures are more than 6 months old.
I believe that's easily correctable, and why force them to come through the process again. I mean, if they correct these two issues, and I can spell out the issues. I'll write a letter and I'll spell out the issues.
We can get that running pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's the assumption, and that's why I have the most control.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, it's smart not to hold it up for 2 months. You know, if we all agree on what needs to be corrected.
Well, my next thing will bring us back in a month. So.
Further discussion? Yes, Jeff.
I don't think you have anything down. Yes, well.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Okay, Frank Brzezowski,
Yep.
Brian Chapman,
Yes.
Diana Chapman, Matt Chapman,
Yes.
Mark Sikora,
Yes.
Jessica Conklin,
Yes.
Donnie DePaul,
Yes.
Mel Horton,
Yes.
Colleen Colbert,
Yes.
Dr. Kellogg,
Yes.
Henry Jerzak,
Yes.
Rick Kimball,
Yes.
Jim Kins,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Jim Page,
Yeah.
Dave Rupture,
Yes.
Jeff Sweet,
Yes.
Terry Simons,
Yes.
Mike Von Beveren,
Yes.
roll call complete, motion passes.
Okay.
And the last thing is this is informational. We received a CON, a transfer of ownership from Bradford Emergency Medical Services. It's a transfer of ownership from the Bradford Fire Department to New Kennedy. the intention is that I understand is that they're separated from the fire department so that they can now bill for services. From everything that I've seen on here, that it's going to essentially remain the same officers, just now only for the fire department officers, and fire department officers as well as the ambulance company officers. The application was deemed complete and it was sent off to the state for a FNC, fitness and competency review. Which starts the clock on when we have to act. We did check with the Department of Health, and the Department of Health says because it's transfer of ownership, there's no change in the operating area. There is no need for a public hearing and there's no need for public notice. Essentially, this is just meaning that the application is complete and they go off, and the officers go off for a fitness and competency review by the Department of Health. Then it comes back to us for an official vote on the CON. Which the clock is 60 days. 60 days. So depending on how long it takes the state to get us the fitness and competency back, we'll be back within 60 days of today to do a vote on this.
How closely does that line up with our next scheduled meeting?
They received it yesterday, so I would hope within the next week or so.
So as long as we meet within 60 days, we're within the regulation.
And if we meet before the 12th, we can still do it.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get that by the fall. So, I don't think they're gone, but he's not that, he's not. State's still not that quick, but that was just informational, just let everybody know that the CON was received and it's in the process of going through the motions to come back to the council for a vote. We did not accept any money from them. We didn't take any money from them because there's no requirement for the council to do anything. There's no public hearing, there's no public announcement, there's nothing really that the council would have any fiduciary outlay. So we didn't have them submit any money. So we hold no money from them. Any questions on the Bradford ceiling? That was all for the systems committee.
Okay. CMAC and STREMS. The last meeting, CMAC did not have a quorum, so was unable to conduct business at the state level. We've all been advised that the upcoming meetings, the 21st and 22nd, are mandatorily in-person meetings. I've not heard any rumblings about whether they're afraid there really won't be a forum, so STREMS and STREMS will be coming up later this month. Do you guys have anything else to offer from STREMS go? Do you guys attend?
They left the counter off of the email to see how many people are marking yes or no to coming in person. So I can't tell you if we're reaching quorum numbers.
Fair enough. STREMS.
So STREMS met yesterday. There has been an uptick in just kind of more hearsay than anything else of prolonged unloading time at certain facilities. If you're noticing a big uptick at certain facilities of spending a lot of time or a big uptick in time to unload patients, please let us know. We're trying to figure out where the problems lie in that. The other thing too, and I just had another complaint about it actually right on my way here today, is medical control diverting you from a facility. If you're being diverted from one facility to the other, try to find out when it's occurring and who is giving the order to divert from the facility. What it sounds like is many of these orders may be given by nursing, not truly medical control. And it may be a problem of not identifying what your question is or who you're talking to, but it could also be the problem of the facility allowing somebody to answer the radio who shouldn't be answering the radio. We're trying to get concrete examples of dates, times, and facilities in which it's occurring, because I'm dealing with a third complaint this week of an individual facility saying, no, we don't take patients like that, you need to go to another facility. Any medical control decision should be done by the physician on call, all of which who should have taken the credentialing exam, the same one that everyone else takes. I know the only facility I work at currently is Arnett, and all of our providers take the long 50-question test just to make sure. Other facilities are giving some version of the test. We're trying to figure out not just hearsay, but concrete examples of when people are being diverted, why they're being diverted, and who is doing the diversion. If there's a medical control question, we ask that everyone identify that you're looking for medical control, you're looking for the medical control physician. That way they can grab the physician. I know, again, at Arnett, if you guys call and say, I need medical control, then that's the nurse's cue to come get one of the doctors. We're just not sure if the other facilities how it's being handled. And if you're asking an explicit question for an explicit audience, you should be assured that you're getting the audience that you're asking for.
And to protect yourself, you should be able to document who the
Yeah.
physician is that provided that order.
Especially on things like diversion, because if you're being told, divert to this facility for this reason, you want to make sure the person telling you to do so is the right person. The one today was saying, someone calling and saying this facility doesn't accept psychiatric patients, which no facility did deny any patient. But again, it's just more hearsay. It's not like a concrete example of what happened. If you can give us concrete examples, then we'll have something to work with. And it's more of like a root cause analysis, trying to find out where the breakdown in communication is, whether people aren't asking for the right person, whether it's not being phrased on one end, or if the receiving facility is intentionally trying to, say, alter the conversation to get the end that they want. That was a big topic yesterday. Because like I said last time, CMAC wasn't able to meet, so there were a lot of things that weren't able to be discussed.
Many providers are documenting who they talk about medical control in the PCR, which is probably.
Yeah, no, for most of the people that call in on one radio, they can pick out our voices pretty dead on. We can pick out most of your voices because sometimes we hear them and you hear us, but it's just better to know exactly who you're talking to. But charge nurse who sometimes might be a nurse who's been there for 30 days and just has the most experience because they're all travelers, isn't the right person to be giving you medical control.
I thought about this a lot yesterday afternoon. In the interest of getting that concrete information in the quickest form, I think somehow we need to reach out to all the providers in the region and let them know that if this has happened, who they should contact and how they should contact. I hate the idea of drafting another survey form. But even if they have a point of contact, email Dr. Wisłański, email Dr. Kellogg, and just include this information, because if it's happening to the providers you see on a daily basis, you can bet that it's happening to the providers that you see on what's for their daily.
Well, not exactly the vocal provider, the non-vocal providers also might not be mentioned.
Well, yeah, so can we come up with a mechanism to notify or to briefly educate every provider in the region that we're looking for this data? And here's how to get it to someone.
Yeah, so I think it ties into part of a larger conversation I want to have about just destination decisions in general. I think a number of the hospitals in our region have lost or gained services, and we often have transporting agencies going out of the region or coming into the region, and making sure that the right hospitals are being selected. So Mike and I are putting together sometime in the next couple of weeks, trying to get stakeholders together. Most of them should be receiving an email sometime soon with some dates to try to kind of generate a reason. I want to put together a CME program to either distribute virtually or take out on the road on this very topic, as well as how to report it to us. And certainly the I think the short answer for tonight is streaming at STREMS Council email will get it to us.
And part of the issue too is with the availability of beds right now, if you're taking a patient who you know doesn't have the specialty that you know they're gonna need to a facility, knowing that they're not gonna be able to be transferred, you're essentially condemning them to wait a couple days in a facility that can't care for them.
And condemning another EMS crew to eventually take them somewhere potentially 4 hours away.
Strange.
Yeah, no, I think that would really feel, you really feel that needs to be done.
The other problem with that though is too is how do you educate the public? Because some people, I will say, most people have the hospital of choice in their mind. They don't want to hear you're not going to.
And you still have people that say, I want to go to St. Joe's, forgetting that it's been closed for almost 2 years.
Then they still don't.
We take them there.
Is there a way for maybe a weekly informational email to go out with what capabilities are available at what hospital?
We used to do that years ago. Remember, we used to have the triple red, orange, green.
Well, I'm talking about capabilities, say that there's no thoracic surgery at
Right.
hospital XYZ this week because the surgeon's spending the week at the lake or whatever. Maybe that's a poor example, but just something that, you know, the hospital A has, you know, has all these services, hospital B has all but 2 of these services.
But then it puts it on the ambulance to tell the patient, I know you need a chest surgeon, but he's on vacation. They don't want to hear that. They love to hear from the doctor on the line.
See, but I don't think we should believe that in the back of the ambulance. I don't think that it's all about informed decision making. It's all about saying, I know you want to go here, but just to let you know, the capability of that hospital isn't there right now. We can take you here, or we can take you to your hospital of choice, understanding that they may need to transfer you out.
You get kickbacks for taking them to Packer when they want to go to Garnet? Because that's what it sounds like to me.
So what Rick, I think is
I think
getting at,
that's not pretty, to be honest.
I know, we predict. Same thing we do now, patients, stroke patients, you know.
Standing patients.
You know, when I'm here in probably here, you're going, because it's not gonna do you no good to go here. Because we're gonna ship you within 15 minutes anyway.
I was literally on the phone the other day with an AMR for telling the patient, look, you're having a heart attack right now. We have the facility to take care of it. If you go to the other place, you may have to be transferred. It's kind of your decision. The person said, well, if you can take care of it, I'm coming to you. I was like, all right, that sounds great.
It's just when they hear the nail on the head. You gotta call it. They hear it from the doctor, they don't hear it from the vet.
I think that,
They teach us a very special
But it also
vocal.
helps if the paramedic and the receiving hospital are on the same page. If they're arguing with each other right off the bat, you both look like you're in confidence and stuff like
Yeah.
I think it's a very fine line to walk when you get into the nuances of, oh, you may have a hip fracture and the orthopedist isn't there this week. That's a
Yeah.
pretty fine line to cross. But back to what Rick said, remember years ago, Dr. Hopper's diversion statement, was a little diversion. And you're right, I think informed decisions are important for patients. As long as we don't get into,
I don't want to get into
this hospital doesn't have this service today.
I wouldn't get into today or tomorrow, because if you know the facility never has the service,
Right.
it's a different story.
Yeah,
But then again, we need to know what services the hospitals have. I mean, it's very simple to know who's a STEMI center, who's a trauma center, who's a stroke center, but who has the ability for urology, who has the ability for GI services, who has the ability for this. I mean, you know, it's those other ones that 10, 15 years ago, we used to take for granted. And they're not for granted.
Yeah.
The permanent things can be populated in Jabari if the hospital's inclined to do it. Like if I wanted to put in that they're not accepting OB for a period of time.
so the interesting thing is though, Article 28 of facilities are required to accept all of those patients.
Yeah.
They are required to have some form of those services. You know, like I said, it becomes a very fine line quickly. Because if we've been out as a region saying, okay, this hospital never has orthopedics, so if you got an orthopedist, don't come here.
That's not at all what I'm saying. I mean,
No, no, no.
all I'm saying is give the patient the information.
Yeah.
And let them make the decision.
It's about an informed decision, and informed consent needs to have risk, benefit, and alternative. They need to know those portions to truly get informed consent.
Correct.
I mean, absolutely, any ER should be able to provide the initial stabilization for anything, but
Right.
the initial is the key word there.
That's what I was getting. At, is, you know, if we get into telling somebody that your kidney stones can't be treated here.
Your recent history alone, Johnny, 2 out of the 3 hospitals in the area could have taken care of you. You ended up at the third and had to.
I know, and I just am cautious about that. I don't disagree with it. I don't disagree that it's best to take the patient to the appropriate facility for their condition.
But that's really a doctor's
Gotta be careful, gotta be careful with it.
Yeah, no, at any point, if you want the doctor to get on the phone, again, that goes back to the conversation we just had. You should be able to identify that they want to speak to the physician, speak to the physician regarding it for a transport decision. Because believe me, the doctors will be very careful not to say, do not come here, but we might not be able.
Oh, no, we've had.
Well, the ones we have currently, I don't think they want to do something like that.
So this looks like it's gonna be a little deeper topic than can be cured in one night. My suggestion is we figure out, by the end of the week, how to reach out to every provider in the region. Offer up the STREMS, or STREAM chair email address and ask them if this happens, please email this information here. In a brief description of what we're trying to look at. That'll hopefully get data to start coming to you in a consistent format rather than, you know, I heard or I heard.
Yeah. I would think it would be easier to go to the agencies than the individual providers. I don't think we have contact information for every individual provider in the region, but we should have contact information for every agency.
I guess this is a Jeff question. Are those STREMS Council email addresses secure to a level that's HIPAA compliant if we're potentially saying send patient information to us?
No. Yeah, I know. I can tell you.
Okay, then this would be my email address on it.
Or mine, the next 3 months. This is more about starting data collection, so we can start the discussion of a root cause analysis to find out where the gaps and where the lapses are.
I mean, if you don't want to get out personal emails, maybe don't need to give specifics for the initial email, just that, hey, I have a diversion, here's my contact information, you can contact me to get more information. That's if you don't want to give out your personal email.
Or you can supply a PCR number, chart number, because you should be able to own that from the regional lab.
Yep, because the diversion should have been documented on the PCR.
Right.
If you'd like, we can build a form for the council website. That's sort of down and dirty, whatever data you want. You can have a form built there and then do a short form that would email off to where we want to email off to. And then it can reference and we really don't share a situation with the state.
That's great, but that's just another form for everybody. I think it would be, myself personally, from what I've seen and what I've heard in the past, it's so much easier just for me to send out a quick text or a quick email saying that I have this problem. And if you need to contact me, here's my contact information. If we create another form for someone that's gonna allow, you know, and you're 5 or 6 PCRs in, you're gonna be like, you know, that was 3 hours ago, I could care less about that. Whereas just sending a quick text or a quick email from your phone, it takes you 20 seconds and you're in the down.
Yeah, we'll have to think about more forms, more paperwork, but, I'll leave that to you guys, since Mike and Dr. Kellogg and Dr. Leflesky are already have this in their radar. And the data is gonna be coming to you guys, decide what you wanna do, how you wanna do it. We can start by going out to the agencies, but historically, sometimes I wonder if stuff we send to agencies actually truly makes it. That was rhetorical.
I just shake my head.
But, so we'll go with that. The other side of it, and possibly for, training committee to work on is, as Dr. Wisniewski said, there may be room for educating providers on how to deal with medical command as well. Myself, having worked in 2 or 3 different systems, medical command takes on a lot of different forms. When you call Robert Packer, whoever answers the phone, the first question they ask is, do you need medical command? Other hospitals, might ask if it's a medical or a trauma, but it's kind of up to you to say, I need medical command. Other hospitals, I know a couple where the unit clerks answer the phone. And they just take the information and hang up. Maybe a way to educate providers in some of the points that Dr. Wisniewski mentioned, asking who it is you're talking to, stipulating when you pick up the phone or the radio right away. Maybe the first words out of the provider's mouth, and I know mine are when things are sideways. I need medical command. Find someone. And,
You know, and every region is different, so,
Yeah.
like you said, you go in gut region, a little different from strong, or, you know, maybe you could put that together as a CME program and get it out to providers, and then in that, also put that contact information, if you have this problem, email this, text message, whatever,
I think we need to kind of voice it out there.
because, you know, if you're gonna put it in a training thing, then you definitely disseminate that, but, you know, if gut feel is gonna be this, and this is what you're asking for, or if it's strong, you're gonna be asking for this. If it's a community hospital, med control is med control, so that's what you're calling, that's what you're calling. Yeah.
So we'll go with that. Anything else for STREMS? So we'll move into training and education.
Training and education is not new. I didn't have anything brought before us, for this meeting. There's nothing really, over there from the last meeting.
I did receive, email notification from the state that your class starting, here, across from,
Yeah.
it made it through the portal.
So we went back and forth, there was a little pushback on the dates, and then we finally got it through, and we moved from the old hospital to the new hospital, and then COVID came along, and we got shut around in some larger rooms so we could have our space, and then we finally got a landing. Hopefully that's, at least for this year. We'll say.
Okay. And I know, Mike, you got classes starting up.
They're in their second week, there's an antique class here, the sped count one did not open, we only had 8 people sign up. And I think only 4 or 5 completed everything.
And new paramedic class as well.
Correct, that's in process as well. They're 2 to 3 weeks in.
When's the other one, Greg?
End of November. Yeah. Their PSE is like 18, 19, 20, something like that.
So that one of ours just finished through NCC, and I was back and forth between July and August, are they gonna accept National Registry, are they not, is it gonna be state, are they gonna accept both? So Jen was finished out, and she took both, she signed up for both, and took both, and she had both hers.
Is that your daughter?
No, Jackie was,
Oh,
well,
yeah, yeah.
so she could finish.
Should be over.
You had one, you can't have her. And we have three starting this year.
Anything else for training? Public information.
We did not meet and we have nothing.
Quality improvement, quality assurance.
We did not meet either. However, I believe everybody is on the electronic PCR, so that is a big boost in this area. Getting volunteers now seems to be a big struggle as well. So if anybody has any ideas, we would gladly accept any.
Any questions for Q&A? Finance committee.
We did not meet, however, we finally got paid for Q1 and Q2 from the state. It was the wrong amount. They overpaid us and they don't know what to do about it. So we don't dare use any of the funds until we figure out whether they're gonna take the whole check back or use common sense, or decide what they're gonna do with the overpayment. So right now we're in limbo. We've emailed them several times without any success. Other than that, there's nothing to report.
They short paid us when we have it.
Yeah.
As soon as they say you can.
That Q1, Q2 of 22.
No.
21.
So they paid us for 2021. We still haven't received any monies for 2022. Are you in the same boat, Mike?
There's no contract, right?
Okay, so, I should mention right now that, I know we had some projects on the table, we had some things that we were working on, some things that we wanted to spend money on. And earlier this year, we made the decision through executive committee that, we couldn't in good conscience ask MSTAR to spend a large quantity of money on our behalf without knowing that we were even able to get it reimbursed. So we've been fiscally austere. You know, we were talking about a new ad campaign. But remember, that was thousands of dollars. And, and on a personal level, I don't feel right asking another corporation, who's also not getting paid by the state, to front us a large sum of money that we don't know if we're gonna get back. I'm not the happiest of people over the idea that she's not happy either. I'm so far behind it and reimbursing us, but and I wish I could say it's the first time it's ever happened. But during my first stint at state council, I waited a couple of years for some reimbursements to come back. So as much as I'd like to say, I think it's a fluke. Apparently it's the one. Sorry, Jimmy, I just want to put that out there.
Q2 is what, $29?
$29.
So that's Q2.
So it really wasn't their fault. I mean, they had to find that.
Our hope is that they'll get the program and we can conduct business as usual. Anything else, Jim? No, sorry.
Nothing else.
Okay. And I mentioned that took care of, executive committee. Any other old business?
Nice to see everybody in person.
It is. It is. You and Dr. Wisniewski have the same barber. Always doing the same.
Oh, we shave each other.
I'll let the rumors get started.
You know, I. A lot longer than what you do. On to new business. Actually, a couple of items. First off, as I mentioned earlier. The governor's executive order allowing for hybrid meeting sunsets September 12th. With no indication that it will be renewed again. So we need to plan for October, or I'm sorry, November, and possibly October, depending on when FNC comes back for Bradford. But we need to plan moving into 2023. Do we want to go back on the road like we were pre-COVID, alternating meetings between Klein and Elmira, Klein and even Harrell occasionally. We need to look at that and get that set up for moving into next year. And also back to a regular meeting schedule now that we're able to actually work on some projects again that aren't related to COVID. We put a couple of good ones on the table tonight. So, do you want to maybe look at the calendar and figure that out?
We got to contact Corning and Bath to find out if they're even gonna allow it.
Right. Yeah, the interesting thing is when I went to Corning Hospital, to go to the ER, they once again still took my temperature. And the woman said, "You're good, it's 94. And I said, "Are you sure I'm good?" Well, she said, "You don't have a fever." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll take it." Yet other hospitals haven't been checking temperatures for months. So interesting differences here and there. All right, on to the other item of new business that I have. According to our bylaws, the council chair turns out after a period of time. And through COVID and through the pandemic, I ended up staying actually longer than I intended to. So I'd like to open nominations for chair and vice chair of council. And I'd like to start that out by nominating Frank Brzezowski for the position of chair. And we can conduct elections at the November meeting.
Second. This would make you want it.
Any other nominations for council chair? Any other nominations for council chair? Any other nominations for council chair?
I make a motion nominations to be closed.
Okay, nominations for council vice chair.
Al's not here,
Nominate Jim Kent's for vice.
There's a lot of that down.
He said he nominates Jim Gibbs.
He doesn't want it. I vote against the guy. He's not supposed to.
I nominate Henry.
He's a man. That'd be perfect. Sure does.
You want to be the vice chair? You got a wealth of experience, you got help Frank with.
I would do that.
I'll second that.
Sorry, Frank. Frank Charles. You drew the shorts off.
Other nominations for vice chair? Any other nominations for vice chair?
I'll make a motion to close. I got it 3 times.
Oh.
One more.
Any other,
One more time.
any other nominations for vice chair?
I make a motion, we close the nomination.
And just for the record, there's still, at the meeting we vote, there'd still be the 4 nominations opening. That's how you do that.
Any other new business?
I have a question and possibly motion. Do we have a statutory obligation to read out loud all the correspondence from the state regarding penalties and sanctions? No. Or can we elect to scan those notices digitally provided to membership prior to the meeting? And just ask that people acknowledge the receipt of such items.
The statutory requirement is the STREAM Act gets those.
Okay.
Statutory requirement, states on there. it has to be read. Yeah, that's what it says.
Does it say during the open meeting? Could they be read to use it at least?
So all council meetings are required to do.
Yep. Is there a mechanism in which we could provide that information ahead of time and then someone should make a motion to enter that into the official meeting minutes of the council?
We can check into
Yeah, we'd like to actually see the verbiage because I believe we checked on it before and it was not mandated to the council.
And my question comes from being part of another state organization where we have a legal obligation to enter enforcement stuff into the official meeting minutes, and that's how we handle that. Is we just sign that out digitally, ask that everyone would refer or review the information part of the meeting, and then we have a floor nomination to attach those as an addendum to the official meeting minutes. But
I'm not averse to asking for, I think we asked once before. And we were told we were stuck with it, but we'll certainly ask again.
It's not an email from the state, it's what is the verbiage of the requirements. Unless they change those regulations, they can't just give an email and say we have to do it.
Right.
it would just save whoever moving forward a lot of,
Yeah,
regurgitated information.
codes, and that's it. Worthless. Maybe that's what Frank wanted it for. He wanted it to be-
I'm not opposed to, I'm not opposed to someone reading them if they felt that they were important to be read, but if we were reading them just because we felt like we had to and there was a way to circumvent that requirement and spirit of efficiency, I would. if that's
Bottom of each
suggestion.
one, it says there's a phone number that would be able to answer such a question, probably for the next meeting.
But I mean, the paragraph above that
Should be read.
should be read into the minutes.
That's not shall.
That shall.
That's not shall, that means that should. You should go to work every day, that doesn't mean shall.
We need an answer on paper. And, yeah, we'll look to find that.
I will table my motion then.
Trust me, I got better things to do with my time.
I'm just looking to help you out too.
But in
Well, how about
the
Frank's
use
recommendation?
if you don't know exactly what you're being penalized for, you just got the time to look it all
Well, I told you what they're doing.
up.
Okay, but I'll look at a piece of paper and what is already under dash 130, so. Should be down.
That's 8136. And that is a misadventure.
Doesn't specify.
Doesn't matter that we have to know that. Again,
I'm sure
same thing.
I'm
I think we're gonna get an answer.
It's about the 823 because that's a new,
The AM
yeah.
negligence.
I've never seen that.
Good office, negligence and performance review.
I've never seen that before this round. Any other new business? I really wish Al Lewis were here because it is 8:08 PM. And there is no other business to conduct. And I doubt that Al would believe it if he weren't here.
I'll make a motion for, as I.
Yeah.